Hello everyone, and welcome to another installment of Mishnah Minutes. In this video, we will be learning the second Mishnah of Masechtas Berachos, Perek Aleph, Mishnah Beis. In our video on Mishnah Aleph, we mentioned that the Torah HaKadosh gives us a mitzvah say daraisa to say Kriya Shema twice a day. We have to say Kriya Shema once in the morning and once at night. And when the Torah tells us the proper time to say Kriya Shema, the Torah tells us b'shachbecha uvekumecha. You have to say Kriya Shema at night, b'shachbecha when you lay down, uvekumecha you have to say Kriya Shema in the morning when you get up. In Mishnah Aleph, we spoke about the time for the Zman Kriya Shema shalayla, the proper time to say the Kriya Shema of night, which the Torah says is b'shachbecha, when people are laying down. Now we are going to discuss the proper time for the Kriya Shema shel Shachris, the Kriya Shema of the morning. What does the Torah mean when the Torah says uvekumecha? When the Torah says you should say Kriya Shema when people are getting up, what time is that? So the Mishnah begins, Me'emasai kairin es Shema b'shachris. From when can you say the Kriya Shema of the morning? When does that time of uvekumecha begin? When can you say Kriya Shema and be yotzei the mitzvah of saying the Kriya Shema of the morning? And the Mishnah says, Mishayakir bein tcheles lelavan. From the time when it's light enough outside for people to be able to tell the difference between something that is dyed the color of tcheles and something that is white. We know that our tzitzis are supposed to be made out of tcheles strings and white strings. Tcheles is a bluish dye, so we're supposed to have strings that are blue and strings that are white. The Tana is telling me here, you know when the time of uvekumecha begins? When it's light enough outside that someone could take his tzitzis, look at his tzitzis, and he could easily differentiate between the blue strings and the white strings. When it's that light outside, that's when people are getting up. So that's the beginning of the time of uvekumecha, and that's when you could start saying the Kriya Shema shel Shachris. That's the opinion of the Tanakama. Rabbi Eliezer disagrees. Rabbi Eliezer says, Bein tcheles lekarti. It has to be light enough outside so that someone can tell the difference between something that's dyed the bluish color of tcheles and the color of karti. Rav says that the karti is the vegetable alik. Now, alik is a greenish color. It varies from a light green to a dark green depending on where on the leaf, but it's a greenish color. Now, obviously, you need more light to be able to tell the difference between something that's green and something that's blue than to tell the difference between something that's white and something that's blue. So when Rabbi Eliezer says that the Zman of Kriya Shema begins when it's light enough to tell between green and blue, he's saying that the Zman Kriya Shema starts a little bit later than the Tanakama. The Tanakama said between the white strings and the tcheles strings. Rabbi Eliezer says between tcheles and a greenish color of karti. Now Rabbi Eliezer continues, and he says, that's when the Zman of Kriya Shema begins, when you have this amount of light outside. But when does it end? How long do you have to say Kriya Shema? So Rabbi Eliezer says, V'goimra, we have to finish saying Kriya Shema ad hanetz hachama. We have to finish saying Kriya Shema by sunrise. So how much time do you have? You have from the time that you have this amount of light outside to tell between green and blue and sunrise. According to Rabbi Eliezer, when the Torah HaKadosh says that you have to say Kriya Shema uvekumecha, it means when most people get up. And Rabbi Eliezer says most people get up during this time period, when you have enough light outside to tell the difference between green and blue and sunrise. By that point, most people are already up. That's uvekumecha. That's the time frame that you have to be yotzei the mitzvah of saying the Kriya Shema of Shachris. Rabbi Yeshua disagrees with this idea. He says, you know how long you have to say Kriya Shema? Ad shalosh shois. You could say Kriya Shema up until the third hour of the day. Why? Shekein derech b'nei malachim la'amod b'shalosh shois. Because it is the way of princes, of the children of kings, to get up 3 hours into the day. A prince has nothing pressing him to get out of bed in the morning, so he could sleep late. He sleeps in until the third hour of the day. According to Rabbi Yeshua, when the Torah says that the time to say Kriya Shema is uvekumecha, when people are getting up, it doesn't mean when most people get up. Maybe Rebbe Eliezer is right. Maybe most people get up during the time of when you could tell the difference between Tchelis and Karti and sunrise. But you have the Bnei Malachim who don't get up until the third hour of the day. Since the Bnei Malachim are still getting up in the third hour of the day, that time can still be called Uvekumecha, and you could still be Yotze the mitzvah of saying Kriya Shema all the way until the end of the third hour. Now, what happens if somebody misses this window? What happens if somebody did not say Kriya Shema during this time? So the Mishnah says, Hakarei mikan ve'elech, somebody who says Kriya Shema after this time and onwards, Loi hifsid, he does not lose, and we'll explain what this means in a minute. Ka'adam ha'kairei b'Torah. He's no different than somebody else who reads psukim from the Torah. Kriya Shema is composed of psukim in the Torah. So if somebody says Kriya Shema after the window of opportunity during the proper time of Uvekumecha, he's still saying psukim from the Torah, so he does not lose. Now, what does this mean that he does not lose? The Mefarshim explain, we know that when we say Kriya Shema in the morning as part of our davening of Shacharis, we say the Berachos Kriya Shema. Kriya Shema is accompanied by brachos. We have two brachos that we say before we say Kriya Shema, and then we have a bracha that we say after Kriya Shema. The two brachos before Kriya Shema, the first one is the bracha of Yotzer Or. We start off Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam Yotzer Or Uvorei Choshech, who created the light and created the dark. That bracha ends Yotzer HaMa'oros. That's the first one of the Berachos Kriya Shema. Then we have another bracha of Ahava Rabbah that ends Haboicher B'Amo Yisrael Ba'ahava. That's the second bracha that comes before Kriya Shema. Then we have one bracha after Kriya Shema. It begins with Emes V'Yatziv and it ends with Gal Yisrael. So the Tana over here in the Mishnah is telling me, if you did not say Kriya Shema during the proper time, during the time of Uvekumecha, you're no longer going to be Yotze in the mitzvah Aseh Mid'Oraisa of saying Kriya Shema in the morning in the proper way, because you missed the time. But you should still say Kriya Shema. You know why? Because you could still say Kriya Shema together with its brachos. And it's important to say the Berachos Kriya Shema. Those are brachos that the Chazal made, and those are brachos that we're supposed to say every day. Now, what are you worried about? You're worried that you're going to be saying Kriya Shema out of its proper time? There's nothing wrong with that. That's Ka'adam HaKairei b'Torah. There's nothing wrong with reading psukim in the Torah. So say Kriya Shema. There's nothing wrong with saying Kriya Shema out of its proper zman, because you're just like a person reading psukim from the Torah. And as far as the brachos of Kriya Shema are not subject to the same time restriction as the Kriya Shema itself. There is no requirement to say the Berachos Kriya Shema during the time of Uvekumecha. So even if you missed Uvekumecha, you should still say Kriya Shema together with its brachos, because, again, you gain that you said the brachos, and you don't lose by saying Kriya Shema, because you are Ka'adam HaKairei b'Torah. So to wrap up this Mishnah, the question of the Mishnah was, when is the proper time to say the Kriya Shema Shel Shacharis? The pasuk says Uvekumecha, when people are getting up. The Tanna Kama said it begins when it's light enough to tell the difference between the tchela strings, the blue strings of the tzitzits, and the white strings of the tzitzits. Rebbe Eliezer said it has to be light enough to be able to tell between the greenish color of a leek and the blue color of tchela, so that's a little bit later than the Tanna Kama. Then Rebbe Eliezer adds that the proper time to say Kriya Shema ends at sunrise, because that's when most people have already finished getting up. So that's the end of the time of Uvekumecha. And Rabbi Yeshua disagrees, and he says that we have up until the end of the third hour, because Uvekumecha does not mean when most people are getting up. Uvekumecha means when everybody has gotten up. And princes don't get up until the end of the third hour of the day. So up until the end of the third hour of the day is still called Uvekumecha, and you could still be Yotze the mitzvah saseh of saying Kriya Shema. If you did not make the proper time of saying Kriya Shema, you should still say Kriya Shema, because you can then say the Berachos Kriya Shema together with Kriya Shema. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day. I hope you join us for the next Mishnah.